YouTube channel of Kathy by Design. Throwback Thursday is a series where I dig into my older stash of paper collections and make something fresh and fun with it, and I invite you to join me in the mayhem. Today I had a kind of a crazy idea. I've been cleaning out my little container that I keep all my scrap. I'll show you. This is right at my side on my desk all the time. And this has all my scrap pieces of cardstock and my various pens and cutting tools and all my different rulers and bone folders and stuff. And this sits over beside me, and it was getting too full. So I went through and kind of organized and cleaned it out a little bit. And in the process, I found a whole bunch of this cream cardstock that I had cut and scored and then for whatever reason discarded in the land that Kathy forgot. And I thought, well, let's see what we can make with this. So I thought and thought, and I think I have an idea. We'll see if it works. We're going to take it for a test drive here. But first, we'll go ahead and score our bases. The first piece I had was 12 inches long by 5 inches wide, and I very simply scored this at 5.5 and 6.5 to make a 1-inch spine on the left, which is actually going to be, I think I'm actually going to make it the bottom. And then I found another piece that was 11 by 4.25, and you can see I scored this poor thing all over the place. I had a project in mind and I just couldn't make it, but I kept the papers. So we're going to cover up all these old score lines. This is how I erase old score lines that I don't want to use. You can also put your stylus in there. And it doesn't erase them completely, but it does a pretty good job. So where I ended up scoring this for this project is at 3.5 and 4.5 and 9 and 10. And then the idea is this is going to, yes, this is going to sit inside our card base like this, so that we have a 1-inch spine on the top and the makings of a box pocket on the bottom. And then this will come over the front like that. So it's just a little fun fold. And then to go in the pocket, I thought I would make a little Post-it wallet. So this little piece is also 12, and we scored this piece. Let me pull this in so you can see what we're doing. At 1, 1.5, 5 3/4, and 6 1/4, and 10 1/4, and 10 3/4. And this is going to fold up. Actually, just do the, sorry guys, let me do this again. You're just going to score this at the 1 3/4 and make a flap here. So 1 3/4, 5.5, 6 1/4, 10 1/4, 10 3/4. And then this is going to fold up like another box pocket. We're just going to put a flap with a magnet inside it here. And then this pocket's going to hold a Post-it pad that will go inside. So that's the basics of how to, and again, I was just tired of the mess in my cardstock bin. So then I got out some of my favorite springtime paper, and this is an older collection from Stamperia, but it's really beautiful. It's called Spring Botanic. It's one of my favorites. It can be a little bit hard to find, but if you look, you know, in Etsy, a lot of times you can find it in Etsy. So that's my little tip to you. And the very first thing we're going to do is cover this 5.5 by 5 panel. And I have all these, that's a tag, of all these like scraps of things. And I'm just going to make a little, I'm looking through here. As you can see, this is another one of my projects. You guys seem to like these though, where I have a vision but not a plan. So we're going to just take these and we're going to patchwork this in. because most of this is going to be covered up anyway, so it doesn't really matter. The height is what matters. We want to try to get to 5. We want to keep it at 5. And I'm just going to cut a bunch of these up and fit them in. Actually, these two will do just fine. So that was super easy. Take this right to 5. And then I like to ink the edges on these. It kind of helps unify them a little bit. And I'm just using Gathered Twigs Distress Ink. It's my favorite for giving a vintage edge. I don't do that on all of my projects, but when I do want to do that, it's what I use. And as I said, this is primarily going to be in the background anyway, so you're not really even going to, but I do want to cover. So I have an absolute horror of naked cardstock. I don't like it one bit. Overlap these. Let's go ahead and cover. Okay, so that's 1 inch. We're going to go just a little bit below 1 inch for the spine and right at 5. Ink it. And if this turns out as neat as it's looking in my imagination, it'll be a piece that you'll go, oh, wow, that's cool. And if it doesn't, you may never see this video because, who wants to share something that doesn't work? I do have those projects, people. That's why all these cardstock pieces were in my think about it later file. All right. I think I'm just going to do this same patchwork deal over here with all these little bits and bobs of paper because I hate wasting beautiful designer paper. So we're just going to see what we come up with over here. Okay, so there's that all done, and actually I love the way it looks. It kind of looks like an old world mosaic. I love this paper anyway. All right, now we're going to bring in this piece, and we're going to build our box pocket. And I found another scrap. I wish I had a smaller scrap of cardstock. I do. So here's a small scrap of cardstock. And we're just going to make our box pockets. Okay. Turn this down a little bit. We want it to be just under 1 inch. And this is 1 inch deep. So we're going to go 1 inch, 1 inch, 1 inch. And we're going to cut this piece off. trim this piece down to just under an inch. And the under an inch is because that's the height of that little box pocket, okay? So that's where that came from. It's not as random as it might seem. So an inch, an inch, and an inch. And cut this off. All right. Now I want to, the front of this piece needs to be something nice because that's going to be kind of the focal, but we need a 1 inch by 4, it's about 4 1/4, it's slightly more than 4 1/4 for the spine. Let's just trim this down and make it actually 4 1/4 because it'll just make our lives so much easier. And then our spine is just, again, we want, hey, look, this might be perfect. Okay. So 4 1/4 and just under an inch. It's just easier to do all of this stuff before you glue this down inside. So this is our spine. I don't want to use the Spidey. I don't want to scare anybody away. Okay. So then the front is 4 1/4 by 3 1/2. You know, I guess I could have gone ahead and cut all these things and measured them and then just put them together with you, but you guys seem to like watching me do this, so I'm just going to go for it this time. That's really pretty. All right, so this needs to be trimmed. It's just a little tall on that top edge. Has anyone else ever noticed that rulers are no longer universal? From one ruler brand to another, an inch is slightly different, which really bugs me. Same with paper trimmers. I wish they would get their act together and standardize. I would love to hear from you in the comments if anyone else has run into this. Maybe it's just me, but it is something that I have noticed. Cool. All right, there's our front. Let's go ahead and do our box pocket. So from here, I have to make sure I'm measuring from the right score line to the right score line. 4 by 4 1/4. Yeah, why not? And I'll tell you what I'm going to do. This is 5. I'm going to take this down to almost 4 and cut, because then this will be our inside spine. And then take this down and cut. So we did 2 parts in one cut, which yay me for thinking ahead. I don't always do that. So here's our inside spine right here. And this will also help me get the other elements placed properly so I don't end up. Yeah, that's pretty. So I'm going just below that fold with this. Now we bring in our little pocket sides. And you see I just folded those very quickly. This is an easy way to make a box pocket. I want to fold this up against the edge. See, I'm just doing adhesive on the 2 outside tabs. And then this fold goes up against the edge. Now we can fold this back like this. And we get our corners square. Sometimes the second one can be a little tricky. But see, basically you just want it lined up. Then come in, whoops, glue didn't stick. Cool. Okay, to cover this box pocket, here's the formula. This is 4 1/4 inches wide, and we know the sides are 1 inch. So 4 1/4 plus 2 is 6 1/4. And it's 1 inch tall, it's also 1 inch deep. So go 2. But I cut always just a hair wider because you have to make room to wrap around the corners. So I scored 1 inch, 1 inch, and 1 inch. And then I cut these flaps. And we're going to make like a, I don't know what you would call this exactly, but it's going to fit. Oops. So usually you have to cut just a tiny little triangular piece out of this inside to form a tab almost. This way it fits nicely. So I'm going to put my glue back on here. And you see I'm just rolling this in and matching it up with the corner. And on this side as well. Just like this. Now we've got this nice finished looking corner. And this is like a fake mantle piece or something. I don't know what you want to call it, but it just fits over and it looks really good. I'm going to trim up these little extra bits on the bottom because I'm not loving that. So I'm going to put my glue along the folds, see? And then just there's a name for this, but I can't think of it. It's like a construction term. But look, it fits and it looks like one piece, which is so cool. So it looks really finished and really nice. And then if you want, you can take a strip, like a little scrap. You've probably got one somewhere. So I'm just going to go not quite an inch. Probably that's about 7/8 by not quite 4 1/4, or exactly 4 1/4 maybe. Let's see if that works really well. I'm going to ink this. I just want to cover up the cream colored tabs because they can be seen. I'm going to tuck this down in here like this. And that is a really pretty finish. Look at that. See? I'm not going to worry about the bottom because you have to work to see the bottom, but you could see the back quite easily. I might cut a couple little pieces just to go in the sides. Just where it's obvious so that everything looks really finished. And these were just left over from what I just did. So now that we've done all of this, now we can glue this into our card, our base, whatever you want to call it. I don't know what this is. It's one of my doohickeys. I come up with these ideas. I don't know where they come from, people. See, I just like how finished that looks. You don't see raw edges, and I like that. Okay, so we're going to bring this in, and we have determined right that we want this. This has to be up here and centered. So center this so that your spine is even with the top. And then what I'm going to do is just make a tiny little pencil mark on each side. That will hardly be noticed. I'm going to put my adhesive on the back of this hanging pocket. And then I'm going to line this up between those two marks and even along the top. And then I'm going to burnish it down. And now, people, this is what we call committed. We are committed. Okay. See, this comes over the top. Now we can take our magnet. I think I want it to rest right about there, because that gives me room to clear. Okay. So now our magnets are placed where we want them. We're going to put a little score tape just as extra insurance. Did you see how I did that? I just stacked them on top of each other, then closed it, and then this magnet is automatically placed in the right spot. So now we can come in with this piece that we've cut 4 1/4 by 3 something. It's the same as the one we did on the front. I think it's 3 1/2. 3 1/2. And we glue that in. Oh, let's do this side. That's pretty. Oh yeah, I love that. That is very cool. That's very cool. Now we need to cut a piece for our front, which is 5 by, I believe, 5 1/2 is what I said. Yep. Okay, I had to clean off my desk. I was losing my mind. But now we can go on and work on this cover now that we've got our magnet in place. And what I've done is cut a 4 7/8 by 5 3/8 inch piece of the green, and then matted it on slightly larger so that it ends up being 5 by 5 1/2. And I added this blush. It's a very soft, very, very soft faded pink. And I think it's going to warm up all these greens and browns and add a really beautiful feminine touch to our design. So this goes down. Then I cut out one of the postcards, trimmed it out, and I'm going to show you what we're going to do. We're going to place adhesive on this because I don't want the bugs, but I like the moth or whatever that is up on the cover. And we have to be careful not to do anything with too many layers here, because this is going, and I'm just bending this over, and I'm using my bone folder. Put adhesive down. And we're just kind of wrapping this around this panel. Rather than cutting it, it's just a pretty look. You'll see when we flip it over. It gives everything a really nice finished quality, but we can't put too many layers because our magnet is under there. And if I thought, what I should have done was put my magnet on this layer, but I didn't. So this piece is cut to, I should know, but I forgot. 4 1/2, and I want to say it's 5, yeah, 4 1/2 by 5. So that's going to glue over this green in the background. And do you see how this pink is just making everything really soft? So this goes here. Just like that. Okay, and then I must have done a project where I used quotes. So I found this one little quote that says, "Deep in their roots, all flowers keep the light." And I like that. So I tore the edges, and I'm just going to glue this down. Because after all, this is Throwback Thursday, so we're using things up. But then this flap, see, the magnet still holds, which is great. Then I die cut the Amazing Paper Grace Petite, or Picot Petite, Petite Picot, and this beautiful rose circle. And I kind of trimmed around the edges a little bit so that it fits nicely on the circle. And we're going to glue this here. And then this is going to go coming down like this. So it's sort of like a medallion hanging down. like that. Pretty. Okay. Now what? Oh, and then the other thing I did was I cut a 1x5 piece to here, and I'm going to cover this back also, so that just so it looks, because it's kind of like a box. I want it to be complete and finished. Okay, so now this little guy, in this corner. So you can hardly tell that that was paper pieced. I'm going to glue this little piece, unless I can find a better one that is not quite a half. Yeah, this looks perfect. So let's use the green side. This is just a scrap, just to cover that spine. We can actually wrap it around to the front. Okay. And then down here we need 3 1/4 by about 3 1/4. And again, we can actually paper piece here because it's going to be covered with the Post-it note. Do you hear my neighbor? He's building something. That's what the banging is. Every spring they take on a new project. Last year they built a gazebo in their backyard. So I'm very curious to see what they're building this year. There's always something really great. They're super neighbors. And look, the pattern even matches. That doesn't happen very often. Perfect. I'm just going to wrap that other spine while I'm doing all this stuff. And this one, we don't have to do the inside part of it really, because this is our box pocket. All right, so now we can put our little box sides in, because we can't really place our magnets until we get this done. So now we can place our magnet. We're going to do it just like we did last time. Only this time we want to place it on our flap first. And I want it right in the middle. And this is the important part. When you bring this down, you want to check yourself that you're square before you press it into place. See? A little bit of tape. And if I had remembered, I would have put this under the paper and we wouldn't have had to add the tag, but I forgot. So we're just making it work. Pretty. Then we're going to do the same thing here, and then our Post-it pad just fits inside the box, she says. There it is. See? Cute. Cover the top, cover the back, but now you know how to make this. The rest of this is really just all design. So I'm not going to go into that because this is quite a long tutorial as it is. But I will probably add my flowers and ribbons. This has to stay the way it is. And then I think I'm going to do some sort of a lateral waterfall along the bottom here, or I might just do, I don't know, a postcard. I'm just going to see how I feel about this. But I actually have to go start dinner. So this is as far as I'm going to go with this Throwback Thursday. I will come back and show you how everything is finished. But see this little guy? So it's kind of fun. It's like a box in a box. And you've even got room in here to put in a short pencil, which is nice. And then this could be pretty on your nightstand or your kitchen table. Could lay out like a pretty box. All right, guys, I'll be back after I fix dinner and clean up and go to bed and wake up tomorrow morning and finish this. All right, guys, here it is all finished. I really love the way this turned out. This is designed to kind of sit on your desk as a box. On the cover, you can see where I added our Pico Petite circle die, and then I put this floral element from the paper here, coral rose ribbon with some little birdie flowers, and then some buttons from my stash. Very simple, very elegant. And then this flips up. On the inside, I die cut that same Pico Petite circle from patterned paper and layered it over the cream paper, and then fussy cut this tag and added it here. And this is where our ribbon wraps around. Then this would be sort of the front page, and here's where we wrapped our postcard and added this quote. And then you see this little paper clip embellishment that will be explained in a minute. And then in here is our box, and I don't know why I had that extra there. I just decorated the front of this with patterned paper, and I wanted to cover up some of the beetles that were on here. So I put this little rose tag with the snail, some little Prima crystals. This has that magnetic closure that we talked about, and then there's our Post-it pad tucked into the pocket. And you could also tuck a tea bag in here if you wanted to, or a little pen or a little pencil. So there's that, and that lives in this pocket. Room in this pocket also for a gift card or a note. And then down at the bottom, I made a little lateral waterfall. And I took these are not really 4x6. They're more like 3.5 by 5.5 or 6. and I scored 1.5 inches on the left on each of these. This little paper clip holds this closed, and then these flip open and you have room for photos, or you could use this like a little nature journal and write little quotes here. But just to flip through. And then at the back, I added, and here you can see this is where I scored. And this is a little Melissa Francis tag and pocket I've had forever. And I just pulled this out, put a little strip of designer paper here, added a tassel, a little burlap string bow. And this would be a place to write a note, tuck in a gift card, a tea bag, whatever. And then this just slips over like this and holds everything in place, and then it closes up. And there you have it. This would make a really fun gift. And you could make these in any paper, any theme. It'd be great for baby. It's great for, you know, you could use this in the kitchen. It's really cute. I like this sort of, I don't know what to call this yet. It's like a matchbox. I don't know. It's kind of a cool design. And I haven't done this previous, so this was a fun thing to do. I hope you enjoyed this Throwback Thursday. Please let me know. And if you have things that you like, older collections that you'd like me to work with, tell me in the comments below, because if I have them, I'll pull them out and we'll do some stuff. Anyway, Kathy Clement, Kathy by Design, thanks for joining me. Please give this a thumbs up so other crafters can find it. It helps me grow my channel and also helps share the fun with all of our crafting buddies. If you haven't subscribed, please do so. If you click on the bell, you'll get a notification every time I upload something new. All right, guys, go make the world more beautiful. I'm going to get my craft on. Bye.